Hello people, welcome to today's class. Well, you can see what it is. The Egyptian Empire, one of the greatest civilizations in history. The key terms for today are obelisk, a four-sided pillar with a top shaped like a pyramid. This is a model of an obelisk existent in ancient Egypt. It looks pretty much like one we have here in our city, remember? Check it out. Hieroglyphic, a picture of symbol representing a word, syllable, or sound. This is the Egyptian hieroglyphic alphabet. Each symbol or animal represents a letter. Another way of writing. Delta, land formed by mud and sand in the mouth of a river. Look at this beauty over here in Lower Egypt. But don't get jealous. We also have our delta in Delta Macurgo, remember? Which is the mouth of the Orinoco River. I hope you know that. Papyrus. Papyrus is a tall reed that grows in the Nile Valley. The pith, which is the spongy center part, of which was used to make a paper-like substance. But don't get fooled by it. Paper is not the only thing that we can make out of papyrus. This is the plant. Look. Gorgeous, huh? It grows in the Nile Valley. Other key terms that we are about to study are vizier, a chief minister. He was part of the upper class along with the pharaoh in the social structure. Mummy. Amazing. A body treated for burial with preservatives to keep it from decaying. There are mummies from thousands of years that still exist. Natron, a mineral salt found in soil from dry lake beds. This is the natron, and it is used mostly in the preservation of the mummies. Wadi. Wadi is a valley formed by heavy flooding. Do you see the wadis? This is in Egypt. And there are Egyptologists, a scientist who studies the remains of ancient Egypt. I can guess that this is a very cool profession, full of adventure and research and knowledge and history. Let's talk about the Egyptian geography a little. This is the map of Egypt, okay? These are all the cities that come all the way from Upper Egypt, which is down, to Lower Egypt, which is up, ironically. You see? Do you see this blue line that crosses from down to up? Well, easy. Egypt is within the Sahara, which is the biggest desert in the world. And its main resource, or its richest resource, is the Nile River, which is this. Okay? The Nile River is no more and no less than the longest river in the world, more than 6,000 kilometers long. The Nile banks, the parts that are side to side of the river, overflow every summer, and deposits fine particles of soil called slit that enriches the land, makes it more suitable for cropping. The farmers came to depend on the regular pattern of the Nile to know where to plant crops. So as you can see, Nile River in Egypt is a vital thing, okay, for people. Until about 5,000 years ago, Egypt was divided in two parts, Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. Lower Egypt is here, is the top, and Upper Egypt is the bottom in the map. It's ironic, but that's the way it is. But this lasted only until the time, and you will see why. The Egyptian economy. They grew many products, such as crops like wheat, barley, flax, lentils, onions, dates, figs, cucumbers, and grapes. All food. Cattle like pigs, goats, and sheep. They resisted the heat and the weather conditions. It has natural resources such as stone, gold, silver, copper, and papyrus, which were very valuable, and they are still very valuable. But they also traded things. Since they had these resources, cedar trees from Lebanon were used for buildings and stones. People from Lebanon required stone, gold, silver, copper, papyrus, different crops, and they offered cedar trees. You see? But that was not the only thing they traded. They also traded perfumes, spices, and incense that came from Punt, today's Somalia. These are the products that are made from papyrus. Remember that I told you that not only paper were made with this material? This was one of the most valuable materials at that moment. See why? Imagine boats. They let the papyrus dry, and then they were able to build these structures. You see? Basket for carrying goods. Sandals for wearing. Mats for sleeping. Just as the ones that we use in yoga, for example. Ropes, which were very important, especially in transporting goods by the ocean in boats. And of course, the paper, which was used by the scribes to keep records of the events occurred in the country. Let's talk a little about the history of ancient Egypt. 5,000 years ago, king means united Lower Egypt and Upper Egypt. It was not two regions anymore, and he established Memphis as the capital city. There were three eras in the history of Egypt. The first one was Old Kingdom, which started with the union of the two Egypts. The kings built pyramids and monuments, encouraged religious devotion by building temples to the Egyptian gods. But those constructions were very expensive. So, in the Middle Kingdom, for that reason, parts of Upper Egypt broke away from the government at Memphis. A ruler from Upper Egypt founded the Middle Kingdom and made Thebes the new capital. You will see who. At last, the New Kingdom. The Hyksos invaded Lower Egypt and ruled it for about 200 years. Then the Egyptians drove them away. They kicked them out. The rulers of the New Kingdom took the title Pharaoh, which means great house. They resumed massive building projects such as the pyramids. You see? And the New Kingdom lasted 5 centuries. Okay? This is the Egyptian social structure. The upper class was led by the pharaoh that was regarded as a god. And then came the nobles and priests who had government positions, owned large estates, paid no taxes, which was really unfair because they were the ones who grew wealthy from donations that all Egyptians made to the gods. Ironically, they didn't pay any tax. Imagine that. Then the middle class, which was formed by scribes who took records, by artisans and craft people that made pottery and jewelry and tools, and the soldiers who fought in wars and supervised building projects, especially by being mean with the workers that were involved in those projects. And last but not least, the peasants that tended fields, raised animals, kept the canals and reservoirs in good order, and the slaves who were forced for heavy work, such as the construction of the pyramids. You see, they were treated with real cruelty by the pharaoh, by orders of the pharaoh, by the soldiers. And this is the representation of the social structure. This is the pyramid of the social structure. Okay? The Egyptian accomplishments include building pyramids, such as these ones in Giza, farming skills like irrigation and harvesting, medicine. They were the first to practice brain surgeries. Look at this. This is a doctor trying to open the head of a person by making an incision here in the middle of his eyes. Whoa. Preparing for the afterlife. Remember that at the beginning we talked about mummies? Well, in this opportunity, we're going to talk about the mummification process. Okay? In the first place, to the Egyptians, death not was the end of life. They believed in afterlife. They believed in reincarnation. So their idea of preserving their bodies is to keep them in order to reincarnate in a new and better life. But scientists found better ways of preserving their bodies. Okay, look at this. The brain and other organs such as the stomach, the intestines, the pancreas, the liver, you know, the ones that are located in the abdomen were tossed away. But the only organ that was prevailed inside the body was the heart. It was left in the body because it represented the soul of the person. I mean, all his or her feelings and thoughts. The body was dried in natron. Natron, remember that is a salt. And the salt has the quality of absorbing all the liquid from a body, from a living thing. So this salt was all over the body for 40 days. So after those 40 days, it was wrapped in white linen, which is a kind of fabric, which is a kind of bandage, you know, that was enrolled over the body of the person to be mummified, along with other resins and other substances that were used for that purpose. You see? Let me tell you that at first, only kings and their families received such treatment after death. But over the years, everyone who could afford that privilege was capable of doing it. In fact, mummification became so popular that even the pets of the people were mummified. Imagine that. Let's talk about the Great Pyramid of Giza. The Great Pyramid of Giza took that 2 more million stone blocks and 100,000 workers over 20 years to build this pyramid for King Khufu. He was the one who ordered the construction of the pyramid. The base of the pyramid covers more than 52,600 square meters, like 5,000 apartments together. Imagine that in one area. Jesus Christ. This is the outside of the pyramid, along with the Sphinx, which was created in the Old Kingdom by King Khafre. And this is the inside of the pyramid. In this part that says King's Chamber, mummies were preserved along with the riches that the pharaoh or the kings wanted to take with him. Okay? They used to bury their bodies in the wadis that we talked about at the beginning of the class. But since the thieves and delinquents started to rob the bodies from the wadis, they decided to build these pyramids in order to preserve their bodies and their riches. This has the air shafts, the grand gallery, the queen's chamber, which was smaller and less luxurious, the ground level, the descending passageway, which was a secret passage, the subterranean chamber, and the escape shaft. These were the important rulers that were key part in the Egyptian empire. The first one was King Menes, the one that united Upper Egypt and Lower Egypt. He designed a crown that was the union of the two kingdoms in one, with white and red. That was the color of the crown. But in this representation is with gold and black. Hatshepsut. She was a woman. She was the first female ruler. I mean, her stepson was supposed to be the ruler. But since he was just a kid, she took control of the empire. And she developed many works of art and monuments. But when she died, that stepson tried to make people forget her legacy. But he couldn't, because her legacy was pretty remarkable at that time. Pharaoh Akhenaten. This pharaoh was the one that made Thebes the main city. He was the one that started to believe in one God, and the peasant nobles became very angry. And they said that his wife Nefertiti was guilty for that because she was trying to influence him and she wanted to control him. But at the end, they couldn't stay. This is Ramses the Great, the one that enslaved the Hebrews. You see, well, it was his father before him, but he continued with the tradition until Moses was told by God to release Hebrews from the tyranny of Ramses. This is Pianki. Pianki was a warrior, okay? But one day, he said that God, the God he believed in, told him that he was supposed to be the ruler of Egypt. So he established himself, and many people thought he was crazy. And last but not least, Cleopatra. Cleopatra was such a young woman when she assumed the control of Egypt. When she was ruling Egypt, she found out that there was another menace for Egypt, which was Rome. Why? Because Julius Caesar wanted to take control over Egypt. When she found out that she wasn't able to defend herself from Julius Caesar, she wrapped herself in a rug, like a carpet, and she told a servant to lift up the rug with her inside and give it to Julius Caesar as a gift. When Julius Caesar opened the rug and saw her inside, he decided to start ruling Egypt along with her. But when Julius Caesar finished his ruling, she started to take control of Egypt along with Mark Antony. But they were involved in a conflict with the Emperor Octavian from Rome. When she figured out that she couldn't fight against Octavian, she took her own life. The legend says that she was bit by a poisonous snake. The assignment will be our workshop that is going to be posted in Academia. And this is the due date. Well, that's it, people. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this class. And we'll see you again with another class. The next class is going to be about India. Okay? I'll see you next class. Thank you. Bye.